Warning. The following video contains strong language that some viewers may find offensive or disturbing.
What collection did you have as a child that would have been worth a fortune now had your parents not thrown it away? I remember when State Quarters first came out. My father sent me a collection of every first edition State Quarter, and one time I went to show my friends a while later and couldn't find them. I asked my mother and she said she had to use them for laundry. We were very poor at the time, so I understand. But I was a little sad by it as well because it was one of the only things my father ever sent me. My brother had a bunch of first edition Pokémon cards that he spent over a year collecting. Mom took them away for getting in trouble at school, and they were never seen again. I got a PSP for Christmas about 3 years after I got in trouble for something stupid, and my parents took it away and then lost it. About 5 years later, when we were moving out, I found it. It was on top of the tallest cupboard. My cousin gave me his old Heelys when I was maybe 9, so smack in the middle of the craze, and my mom said I could have been the wheels if I got straight A's, and lo and behold, my mom accidentally lost the wheels after I walked around in wheel-less Heelys for a solid 3 months. My friend recently told me he was going to get rid of his Magic the Gather cards. Not throw them away, but just get rid of them in a bulk sale. His reasoning was that he spends too much time on building decks rather than getting to stuff that needs to get done around the house and work. I told him to bring them over and I would hold on to them until his 1-year-old son is able to play Magic with him. A couple weeks later, he brought over all his decks and loose cards in a small box. I wrapped them up and wrote his son's name on the box. I figure I hold on to them for about 11 years. I think 12 is about the right age for him to comprehend the difference between an instance versus an interrupt and how stacking spells work. Not any monetary value, but my dad got rid of my entire Lego collection when I was in the Navy. My sister is pregnant with her first child and mentioned she wished we still had my enormous Lego collection for him, her son. It may not have been worth a fortune, but it meant something to us. I had the complete collection of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles figures. I packed them into a box and put them away, then later when looking for them I couldn't find them. Asked my mother. Oh, those. I threw them out. You weren't playing with them anymore. South African coin collection that my older sister threw away without consulting anyone. Edit. Wow, it looks like this resonated with a lot people. Thanks for all your responses and for the silver from the kind person. Stay well, everyone. To answer your questions, thankfully, they were not Kruger Rands. My parents would have kept those safe. They were random old copper coins that had become rare because they were old. I was young and naive and had never thought to value them. They may not have been worth that much at the time, but they were valuable to me for sentimental reasons. They may have been worth a few hundred each by now. Who knows? My sister was into different things at the time, so I don't think she had any clue about coin collecting. It was very mean to throw out my stuff, and I think she realized this later on. But I don't resent her for it because we all make mistakes. Edit 2. Thanks for all the warnings and DMS about the Nigerian prince offer. You restored my faith in the goodness of people. I realized it was a scam-style post but played along for fun. Sorry for causing concern. These scams are dangerous and are the cause of people losing their life savings. Thanks for staying vigilant. I found out my brother-in-law was using his grandfather's coin collection to buy energy drinks and cigarettes. They were a lot of mint silver dollars. Assorted old coins he had been collecting for decades. I found him basically taking the coins out of their display cases and tossing the plastic case so he could use them at face value. Grandfather at the time had dementia, so no longer cared, and I never found out how much money was lost. About 40 Indian arrowheads collected on my grandparents' farm for years by myself and my grandfather, and full sets of baseball cards from 1969 to 1980. My mom decided to toss out all that junk when I moved out for military. Nearly all of the first 24 editions of virtually every Marvel series. From the Fantastic Four to Spider-Man, including the amazing tales in which he was introduced, to Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, SGT, Fury and his Howling Commandos. Basically all of them. At a comic book store I was once looking at some collector's editions of those comics priced at about $1,500 to $2,400. I said to the clerk, "Man, I used to have all of these." The clerk, whom I'm sure was Matt Groening's model for Comic Book Man, without even looking up said in a bored voice, "Do you know how many times a day I hear that?" I had every single Beyblade released in the US until I went to college and my mom gave them away to a worthy cause. Turns out she dumped them in the trash. The man who drives the garbage van told me about them and asked me if he could take them home for his kid. I agreed anyway. My mom had a collection of signed Beatles records that she threw away after she converted to Christianity because played backwards they summoned the devil or something. For years I was hoping to inherit it when I grew up. All I think it summoned was poverty. Skeptical smiley face. I met a lady who was a flight attendant on their first flight back to the UK. From the US. They signed magazines for all the flight attendants. She had it appraised about 20 years ago and it was worth $10. Oh. I never technically owned it. But I got to see it once. My grandfather's comic book collection. He would be 92 if still alive. It's in a chest in the original family home. Inherited by a hoarder who will probably lose it all someday. Honestly better than that as the huge luggage trunks the family brought to the States when moving from Czechoslovakia in the 1800s. They are in the same attic. Edit 1. My father's side of the family is mostly Czech. My mother's side is an American mutt. I used Czechoslovakia for geographic reasons, not national historical. Americans generally don't know nor care. 2. My grandfather's sister ended up with the original house, which is where the collections are. Her daughter has the home now, caring for her father with dementia. We have a very good relationship with them. She is a caring person, but everything is a value. You'd actually have no idea entering the living area of the home. It's the basement, attic, garage, other paid storage areas. All neatly crammed full. 3. I never expected this to blow up like this. I've never had more than 50 upvotes. I'd reply to everyone, but it's pretty difficult. 4. There's a 25% chance I'd end up with possession of them someday. My father, brother and I are the only ones alive who know they exist. And the chest is clearly marked as my grandfather's. Who knows? I'm not greedy or looking for a quick buck. 5. I was only around 10 when I saw them. I don't remember what was in the collection. It certainly wouldn't be worth a fortune. But I had all 6 of the Hercules plates McDonald's was giving out during the movie release. I was so proud of my collection and I ate dinner on one of those plates almost every day of the week. Of course I grew out of them. And probably let my mom throw them away. But I wish I had them now. Photos of me with my biological father that my stepdad took from me. Different kind of fortune. All these responses are the reasons I keep all my son's stuff. He was a 90s kid. I have a big house with no one it. So I have the storage room. And I figure, why not? If it can earn me a few brownie points for being the parent who didn't throw out all her child's possibly valuable stuff, I'm in. I have virtually nothing from my own childhood for various financial reasons. And my husband was one of those who always bemoaned the loss of various childhood things that were thrown out by his mom. So I think it's important to not stack up one more card against myself by being that mom. Whenever he's ready, I have all of his video game systems with all of their games in boxes. Pokémon cards, which are really mine now. Heh heh. Street Sharks, Power Rangers, Superhuman Samurai, Beetleborg, Dragon Ball Z, and Star Wars, Star Trek stuff. Okay, admittedly I'm really attached to these things. But if he wants them one day, they're his. Edit. Thank you, kind stranger, for the gold, and everyone for all the upvotes. I am humbled and honored. Magic the Gathering cards. That Black Lotus and pretty much a lot of band cards would be gold by now. I started in '94. My collection in the early 2000s wasn't bad. Plenty of beta and revised duels. Some P9 in good shape. And plenty of stuff from the early years. I left for basic training and my parents moved. Then moved again. I come back about a year later and start going through my stuff to see what I wanted to bring with me to my duty station and what I wanted to throw away. I asked my mom about my cards and she said she gave them to someone for their kid to play with. It's not the potential price of those cards that's upsetting. It's how hard it would be to try to recreate even a portion of that collection. I play Legacy, so I've got duels. But I'm not getting a Lotus ever again. Stamps. When I was around 7, I used to stay at this friend of my parents' house. She was older, and sort of a substitute grandmother. Her mother lived with her. She used to collect stamps. When she passed away, the subby grand gave me the collection. My oldest brother had them in his room. I can't remember why. My parents used to make a big pile in the middle of our rooms of what was messy, and we had a couple of hours to put it all away. My brother faffed about and didn't do it. So the remaining pile was thrown out. In that pile was the collection of stamps. To this day I believe that there would have been valuable stamps in that collection considering the age of the collection. But I'll never know. My mass hoard of little pet shops. I miss them all. Sad face. Oh, and I had collectible model horses apparently. I still have 2 that I looked on eBay to be selling in the hundreds, but I used to have 6, so darn edit. I hope I made some people realize that they could possibly be rich in toys. Laughing face. I had mined 8 bitcoins at age 16. Kept them in a hard disk. When they grew in value, I searched for an hard disk to know that my mom sold it to a 19 years old for $50. I still curse my mom for doing that. Barbies. My family wasn't super well off growing up. But for some reason they allowed my sibling and I to amass dozens of Barbies. Hundreds of clothes. 2 doll houses. 3 cars. 1 RV. A plane. And so fucking much else besides. When I was 12 and had outgrown it all, my dad decided it was time to pass them on to younger cousins or otherwise get rid of them. Looking back, we should have held onto most of it. I had celebrity Barbies. Anniversary Barbies. Barbies that came with horses. Or were ballerinas. Or were otherwise novel in the Barbie world. I literally spent 10 years collecting Barbies and now don't even have a single shoe to show for it. I had a 32-gallon plastic tote full to the top with Legos from years of birthdays and Christmas. But due to my father's many divorces, they have been lost to time. I still dream about them to this day. For watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and hit the notification button. See you next time.